Hey everyone, welcome to the Mental Playbook with Christine Dalgity. We're here to chat about all things mental health, share some awesome stories, educate, and advocate to break stigmas and gain power through knowledge for all ages and walks of life, and give you the tools you need to boost your mental game. So grab a coffee, get comfy, tune in, get inspired, and let's dive into some fascinating conversations. Remember, your mind is super powerful, and with the right tools and knowledge, you can master your mental playbook. And while you're doing that, take care of you. Hey everyone, Christine here. Welcome back to the Mental Playbook with Christine Dalgity. First off, thank you for tuning in and making your mental health a priority today. Whether you're listening as you walk the dog, sip your coffee, drive in your car, I hope this next hour gives you some comfort, some insight, and some practical tools for your own playbook. Today we're talking about a topic that creeps up every year, especially for many Canadians or people living in the northern hemisphere. Coping with seasonal shifts and what to do as the days get shorter. If you've ever felt your mood dip in autumn or winter, or found yourself craving more sleep, or even just feeling a bit blah as the clocks go back, you are definitely not alone. So let's tap into why this happens and, more importantly, what you can do about it. So what do we mean by seasonal shifts? For most of us, it's that transition from long sunny days, sunny warm days, to the shorter, darker, sometimes cooler or colder days of autumn and winter. Depending on where you live, shout out to people in the north, because these changes can be pretty dramatic. Let's look at some numbers. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, about 2 to 3% of Canadians will experience seasonal affective disorder. Some people call this seasonal depression. Symptoms are the same as depression, but it is actually called seasonal affective disorder. And up to 15% of us will deal with a milder form of seasonal mood changes. That's about 1 in 6 people. So chances are you or someone you know is affected by the seasons. And these often, how statistics are usually people have come forward or diagnosed, so the numbers are probably a bit higher. And here's something, for those of you who are listening outside of big cities, like rural Canadians or people who live rurally in places that have big seasonal changes, you are more likely to experience some seasonal depression because it seems like the sun sets even earlier, right? We don't have the lights of the big city. Social activities can be harder to get to dependent on weather. Once the snow hits, harder to get to. And it's not like you can just go outside your door and there's all of the things, right? You're more isolated when you live in a rural place. So that seasonal affective disorder or just seasonal mood changes can affect you more. So how does seasonal changes affect our mental health? Let's talk about why our mood seems to tank with the turning of the leaves, right? So first, it's not in your head. Well, I guess it's in your head because it's mental health, but it's not, that saying it's all in your head, which is really invalidating and meaning you're making it up. The main culprit to our mood shifts, our mood changes, or seasonal affective disorder is reduced sunlight. It disrupts your body's internal clock. It's called the circadian rhythm. If you want to sound fancy at your next trivia night, you can use that term, okay? Less natural light can lead to a drop in our serotonin, which is the brain chemical that affects our mood. And it can mess with your melatonin levels too, which help us regulate sleep. So if you're feeling sluggish or grumpy or even a little bit lost, it's not just the weather. It's also biology with regards to the weather, but it's biology. And it's pretty common, especially here in Canada. So some common experiences that you might see in yourself: feeling down or low in energy. So when I talked about in the podcast, when we were talking about fall and how we can take advantage of fall for different mindfulness techniques and stuff like that, I also said that in fall our bodies naturally kind of go into prepare for hibernation. And so we might feel our energy going down. That happens because of the reduced sunlight as well. And feeling our energy go down is one thing. If we start to feel it go down for a long period of time, I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, but that's when we really have to take notice of things. But you may experience, as the days get shorter, less sunlight, you may experience feeling down and low in energy. You may find that you're sleeping more than usual, but you still feel tired. And you may have some changes in appetite, especially if you're craving carbs, which is so funny because I eat pretty healthy. And the last 3 weeks I've been saying to my sister, I've been craving poutine. And I'm like, I'm getting one. I am so getting one. And I haven't got one. But even, when I was preparing for the podcast and reflecting on some of this stuff, I was thinking, yeah, because as soon as, like in the fall, when it's dark earlier, let's say I'm sitting here in this chair and I'm going to watch one of my teams play. Right away, my brain goes to, maybe I'll order a burger and fries. Or maybe I'll order like something, some takeout. And I'm like, why? But it's like, it's getting darker, it's cozy, it's comfy, and that's what my body's craving. Even though I've meal prepped and I have food right there, I'm like, maybe I'll go get some fries, right? So there is something to that in the biology. We might find ourselves withdrawing from social activities, and we may have difficulty concentrating. What I want to express here is these are different brain chemistry things that are happening as the days get shorter and we're moving the seasonal shift. These in low doses, these are things that are common to people. These are not necessarily seasonal affective disorder. It is, but multiply that for seasonal affective disorder, okay? I don't want people to think, I'm feeling low in energy and I'm sleeping but I must have seasonal affective disorder. No, most people experience these things when we shift from summer to fall and to winter, but it doesn't necessarily mean that is seasonal affective disorder. In saying that, how do you know that it's just a case of the winter blues or something more serious like seasonal affective disorder? And here are some symptoms that I want you to watch for to guide you in the difference or to see if it's becoming seasonal affective disorder and that you may need some help with that. So the low mood I was talking about, that this low mood lasts for most of the day and nearly every day. So it's not just I'm feeling down, I'm feeling low. It's like nearly every day, all day, or most of the day. You lose interest in things that you used to enjoy. Things that were of interest to you are like, no, don't really feel like doing it. Again, it's not like, I don't feel like doing this today. You lose interest in them. So the sleep problems are chronic. So either too much sleep or too little sleep. You get these feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness, persistent feelings of it. We all have some moments sometimes where we're like, what's the point? But this is a persistence of it. And you might experience significant changes in weight or appetite. If you know about depression, all of these are symptoms of depression as well. And that's why we kind of interchange seasonal depression and seasonal affective disorder. In the DSM-5, it's called seasonal affective disorder. So if you notice any of these changes lasting 2 weeks or more, and they're interfering with your daily life, that's a cue that you might need to reach out for some support, whether from your family physician or perhaps a psychotherapist, a psychologist. You might need some therapy to help you with that, and some medication maybe. I'm not prescribing, that's up to your doctor, but you might need some for the time being. One thing that I notice with a lot of my clients that do experience seasonal affective disorder, the panic that comes at the end of the summer. And they're anticipating it coming. Or in the spring. They'll say, well, yeah, I'm feeling a bit better because it's spring, but as soon as October comes, I'm doomed. I'm screwed, right? We're already setting ourselves up for it, but that's how scary it can feel. So with them, I'll often say, okay, then what can we do to prepare you before it even comes? And I've said in many times in podcasts, if you tell your brain that this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. So it's about trying not to focus on the season, the days getting shorter, and then the panic mode, and trying some coping strategies that I'm about to talk about now. It's about getting practical with it, not just fearing it and saying, oh yeah, well, it's the season, so of course I'm going to feel that way. Coming up with some strategies. And these strategies, I have 7 strategies here that I use with my clients, and some I use myself. I don't have seasonal affective disorder. I don't think I get really down when the season changes, when it gets colder or the days get shorter. Do I like that the days are shorter? Absolutely not. Do I like time changes? No, I think we need to get rid of those. I don't feel depressed or anything like that. It does affect my mood, absolutely 100%, but not into a depression. But I still use these strategies to make sure that it doesn't happen too. They just help your mood in the seasonal, or help manage the seasonal mood changes. So the first one is keep a routine. Try to wake up and go to bed around close to the same time every day, even on the weekends if you can. Your body loves predictability. And so if you can maintain that routine, then like throughout the summer and everything, obviously sometimes you're not going to be able to do that, but try to maintain as much of the routine as you can. Your body stays regulated in that predictability. Seek out sunlight. I know that, last winter especially, if I remember correctly, we had a lot of like dreary days. We didn't have a lot of sunlight, I think. I think January was pretty gloomy, if I remember correctly. Seek out the sunlight. Get outside during daylight hours, even if it's cloudy out. Get outside. Even if you're just going outside on your lunch break, a short walk on your lunch break can do you wonders. It's just getting out. Even though it's cloudy, it's still, you're not locked inside, right? Light therapy is something that I recommend to a lot of my clients. A light therapy lamp, you can consider one of those. Look for one that has about 10,000 LUX, but many people that I know find these helpful, especially if you don't go outside much. One thing I want to say about them too is that they're not to be on all day long, right? Read the instructions, because it's a light therapy, so they're time limited. And I know somebody who had an alarm clock that had the light therapy attached to it. And this, she also experienced depression. And she said that it helped her so much. This wasn't a client, it was someone in my personal life. But she said that waking up in the morning, when the alarm went off, she had soothing music alarm that got louder, but then the light, it was almost like the sun coming up. And for 15 minutes, she would lie there, and she had to. It helped with her depression, helped start her day. So light therapy is something that you can do throughout your day. Stay active. Exercise boosts those feel-good chemicals in your brain. Serotonin, dopamine, endorphins are produced, and endorphins increase your energy. And I've said before, when I say exercise, you don't have to go run a marathon, right? Be active, move. And if you listen to my podcast, you know that I say that dancing in your kitchen totally counts for that, right? that lifts your mood in other ways too, not just the movement part of it. But dance in your kitchen. Eat well. Try not to overdo the comfort foods. And I know that can be hard sometimes, right? Incorporate whole grains, healthy fats, proteins, fruits, veggies, lean proteins. And remember, and this is scientifically proven, but I've also experienced it myself, and I'm sure you have too, that what you eat can affect your mood. If I've been away with friends or whatever on a weekend and I'm not eating what I normally eat, when I come home, I feel sluggish and blah and down because I haven't eaten any of the healthy foods that I normally eat, right? So it does affect your moods, because if you feel physically off, then it's going to affect your mood. Number 6 is stay connected. Even though the days are shorter, you're feeling down, your mood is shifting, reach out to friends or your family, even if it's just a quick chat, right? Or a quick FaceTime. I'm more about in-person face-to-face because of oxytocin, but if the weather's really bad, if you're, FaceTime somebody, send memes. I know I'm guilty of. My sister and I at night will just send memes back and forth, right? Or some of my friends. And actually, one of my closest friends who struggles with mood and some self-esteem issues, self-worth issues, every morning, I try every morning, I've missed a couple mornings here and there, but every morning I send her a good morning message. One of the funny ones, like, good morning, you little spicy burrito, and stuff like that, from TikTok. I send her one of those, and then I always say, good morning, sunshine, right? Or something like that, because I know that, she's told me, but even if I didn't know for sure, I want to build her up a little bit. I want to make her feel good, and I know that she laughs at those, and even for that short time in the morning, that's how she's starting her day. So reach out. Social connection can produce oxytocin, which is the bonding chemical, makes us feel supported and part of a group. And it is a protective factor for your mental health. And number 7, and I say this, I think, every single podcast, practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. It's okay to have off days. It's okay to feel down. Be gentle to yourself. Nobody is thriving 100% of the time. Nobody feels good every single day. And if you do, I want to know your strategy, because I don't know anybody who feels good 100% of the time or who is thriving and living their best life 100% of the time. So be gentle. If you're having a down day, you're having a down day. Take it. Feel it. Label it. Acknowledge it. And then move forward the next day. I often give out resources from Canada, right? Because that's where I live and practice from. So if you are struggling, you don't have to tough it out alone. You can reach out to a therapist. There is Psychology Today that has a Find My Therapist. We're on that as well, different therapists in my office. And you can type in your location and they'll find a list of therapists for you. There are some nonprofits. There's the Canadian Mental Health Association that offers information, support groups, and programs across the country. In Canada, we have a crisis hotline, a suicide hotline, that is 988, and you can call that for immediate help. I don't want to give out hotline numbers because there's different ones for different areas and different cities. So if right now, if you're anticipating that, the days are going to get shorter or they are already getting shorter, but then right now Google it and find what the hotline number for your area is. Different communities have different programs, workshops and social activities. I'm not talking about mental health like help. I'm talking about joining some social activities, some different groups that they have just for getting out there and connecting with other people. There are different support groups that might be out there. Yeah, there are many resources. So my suggestion to people always is to be proactive. If you know this is a thing for you, Google them now, find them now, start doing them now. If it's a crisis hotline or something like that, have them ready, have them in your phone. Talk to a therapist now to help you with strategies that may come up within the next month or so. I just wanted to share, sometimes I share client stories, and I wanted to share a client story. Obviously, I don't give any identifying information, but a few winters ago, this client found themselves feeling increasingly tired and less motivated. So that's pretty general with a lot of my clients in the winter. I've said in other podcasts how I kind of had themes and check themes, and often beginning of February, the majority of my clients tell me I just feel really down. I have no energy. I'm feeling like depressed. And then if we have, so as we often have, a few days mid-February towards the end of February where it's like warmer in Canada for us, like it's like 5-6 degrees, we're like, woo, it's balmy out here at that time of year. And it's kind of funny too, sidebar, that I just said to Kyla, my client care coordinator, the other day, we walked outside, it was like 18 degrees out or something. I think it was the last day, it was October 1st. It was October 1st and it was 18 or 19 degrees. And we walked outside to get stuff out of my car, some supplies, and she was like, it is freezing out here. And she was shivering. And I said, it is a bit cool. And then I started to laugh because it was 18 degrees. If it was 18 degrees in April, we'd have shorts and tank tops on, right? But we had a very hot summer. And so for people outside of Canada, we're in Celsius, so 18 degrees is 18 degrees Celsius. And in Ontario this summer, it was like 41, 45 degrees Celsius, which is way too hot. I kept saying it's like 40, it's stupid degrees outside. And in the winter, I always say it's minus stupid degrees outside. But yeah, it was just funny because 18 degrees and like it's freezing. Anyway, this client was feeling less motivated, was feeling down. They'd wake up and it would still be dark. They'd go to work. They'd come home and it would already be dark. I think anybody that lives in our area in Canada experiences that. I hear it all the time. Feel it, right? You get up, it's dark. You come home from work, it's dark. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm like, okay, if Mondays I'm home at 4 o'clock and finish work at 4. Other days I'm not home till later in the evening, so it doesn't apply as much. But on Mondays, let's say, or on the weekend, and it's dark at like 4:30 in the winter, and I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I'm just gonna go to bed. And then I look at the clock and it's 6 p.m. And I'm like, I can't go to bed right now because I'll be up at like 2 a.m. for the day. But that's what happens, right? You get, it just seems like it's always dark. You don't get that sunlight. For my client, the way they described it, the days felt endless and short at the same time. And they were like, does that make sense? I said, it absolutely makes sense. So that's how they were feeling. And they didn't want it to get too far, So we came up with some strategies. And of those, they chose these following strategies to help them. They started setting up their workspace near a window. They were taking walks even when they weren't in the mood for it, because that is part of, you don't feel like doing it anymore. They still did it. They did their walks. They were scheduling regular check-ins with friends. And, they told me at the end of the winter and stuff, they told me it didn't make winter disappear. Obviously, that stuff was still there, but it did make the months feel a bit easier to manage. So they put all these things in, right? Even a cloudy day, the light coming in the window is light, especially for, people that get up and it's dark. They might, if they go to work really early, it may be dark, just getting light when you get to work and you're working in a cubicle or something away from windows and you leave work at 4 o'clock or something and it's getting dark again. There's not a whole lot of sunlight that you see, right? Or a whole lot of light. So just doing those things, setting up the workspace near the window, going for a walk at lunchtime or after work, even when they didn't feel like it, and checking in with their friends. Those are all the chemicals in your brain that get elevated. So we can't take winter away unless you move out of this area. So it's about putting these strategies in place, and it really helped that client. And so these are some of the strategies that I try to do with them. And I hear so many stories from clients, like many clients, around the same thing. And so these are the things that we do. We have some questions. This time I have a few more questions. 4 questions instead of 3. These are questions that clients have asked and some of our listeners have asked. And I may have answered a couple of them, but this one is, how do I know if I need professional help or if it's just the winter blues? So just to reiterate, if your symptoms, the symptoms that we talked about, that I don't want to go over them all again, but I'll just say, if you think of depression, what do you think of, right? Low mood, not wanting to do things, not feeling motivated, feelings of helplessness and worthlessness. If you're having trouble, to sum it up, functioning at work or home more than 2 weeks, it's a good idea to reach out for some help. There's no harm in checking in with your family physician or a mental health professional. Maybe it's just saying, this is what's going on and I'm a bit worried. They can explain things to you. They can provide you with some strategies. Or maybe it's about really seeking therapy and reworking some things, getting more deep level strategies, as opposed to sometimes instead of just you need to put your workspace by a window, there's something more in there that we as psychotherapists can dig into and help with, is what I'm saying. But prevention is better than waiting for a crisis to happen. The next question I got is, are light therapy lamps safe? I get that all the time from clients, right? Are they safe? For most people, yeah, they are. They're generally safe and effective, and they have instructions on how to use them. Like I said, you don't put them on you all day. They have time limits on them. You can put them on throughout the day, but you don't have them on you the whole day. If you have an eye condition or you take medications that make you sensitive to light, you might want to check with your doctor first before doing it. But generally speaking, yes, they're very safe. The next question is, what if I can't go outside much because of work or mobility issues? So again, you try to get near the light as much as you can. For if you can't put your workspace near a window or something like that, I'm sure there's windows somewhere in your work, right? And I'm sure you get a break at some point during the day. So go stand by the window. If it's mobility issues, if you're in a wheelchair, there should be some accessibility that you can get to a window, right? So try to get as much light in that case as possible. Open curtains. If you're at home, open your curtains. Sit near a window. Use a light therapy lamp. Even with mobility issues, there should be some ability to get outside at some point, right? Ask for some help in doing that. Lily brought up a really good point when we did our Q&A, one of our Q&As, about when I said if it's winter and you don't want to go outside, just look outside. And she said that she still thinks that, getting outside in the winter is good. And it is. It is, because even though winter is cold and days are shorter, if you can get out during the day and there is some sun and you see the sun on the snow, as much as I'm not a real fan of snow, that is still beautiful, right? I mean, I like looking at the snow. I don't like driving in the snow and all of that stuff has to entail. That's what I don't like about winter mostly. But I do like to play in the snow with the grandkids. I did play in the snow with my son, stuff like that. But even just things like that, I know if it's a mobility issue, you can't. I think that we have to do what we can. Even with the mobility issue, open your curtains, right? Do what you can. The next question, or the last question, is, are there any apps or online supports that you might recommend? So there are some mood tracking apps. I have mentioned Mindshift before, which is a CBT one. It's from Canada. And there's one that I've read about. I haven't used myself, but I'm going to look into it a little bit more, because I'm not usually a therapist who just says, oh, I saw this thing and it's the next best thing. I usually try things out and do things myself first, but in preparing for this podcast, I saw it and it had some good reviews, but it's called Daylio, Daylio. So those are some that you could try. Before we wrap up, it's a shorter podcast today, but I think that's okay. Let's recap some key points from today. I think that, I really could go on for a long time about the seasonal shifts and how it affects us, but I don't want to get too into a lot of this stuff, because I think it's pretty straightforward, right? The days are shorter. We don't have as much sun. The days are colder. Biologically, we start to go into hibernation. Psychologically, we need sunlight, and we need to be around other people. We need our social connections. And so as seasons shift, we're losing a lot of that, or it's decreasing. And so it is going to impact you biologically and psychologically. And so I could go in-depth neuroscience, but I'm not going to do that today. So some of the key points that I want you to remember, that seasonal mood changes, especially in climates like we have in Canada, are common. It's common. And it can be a mood change. It doesn't necessarily have to be seasonal affective disorder. It's not just you, right? It impacts so many people. The other thing I want you to really take away and think about is, I want you to watch for the signs of the low mood or the low energy that don't go away on their own. So the ones that I talked about that can be linked to depression, losing interest in things you were once interested in, no energy to do things, sleep patterns are changing, appetite is changing, weight may be changing, feelings of helplessness and worthlessness that are most of the day, every day for 2 weeks or more. It's time to look for some help with that. Another thing I want you to take from this is try some strategies like keeping a routine, seeking sunlight, finding it where you can, moving your body, eating nutrient-dense foods, and staying connected with people to help minimize the effects of seasonal shifts. And as I always say, don't be afraid to ask for support. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. The strength it takes to admit that we need help and to ask for it, it's not weakness. People say, if I need help, it's a sign of weakness. Nope. So, a short one today, but that's our episode. Thank you for joining me on the Mental Playbook with Christine Dalgity. Remember that you don't have to tackle seasonal changes alone. Reach out, take care of yourself, and add a few strategies that we've talked about into your playbook for this season and for the winter season. We're still in fall. Take care, stay warm, find some light, and keep playing to your strengths. And until next time, take care of you.